All right, guys, we are live. Let me turn my cell phone off so I'm not getting ringed all night. I'm going to go for about 20 or 30 minutes tonight. I want to get to more of your questions. I was looking at the wrong display last week and got to questions later in the chat than I usually like to. A lot to talk about tonight, obviously. LSU, Alabama postponed. We'll see when that can get rescheduled. Heard interview earlier today, Scott Woodward with Charles Hannegriff, mapping out some possibilities. Looks like Ole Miss game being moved to December 19th is a possibility, and LSU, Alabama possibly being played on the first weekend in December before they would go play in Atlanta for the SEC championship game if everything goes to form. So it's going to be very interesting. I'd like to get a lot of you guys' comments as to, your thoughts on this game being canceled. It sure seems like there's a lot of LSU fans that are kind of glad with this 2-3 start and the struggles of the LSU defense and the way Alabama has looked in the games we've seen so far. That looked like that was a game that could very well get ugly. Of course, LSU's quarterback situation, Miles Brennan, looked to be out for the rest of the year. And of course, that was the rumor when he initially got hurt, was that it looked like something that would knock him out for the year. But we kept getting, being told each week he could heal. We'll see. We'll test him out. He threw at practice. We're going to test him today. But each week getting pushed back. Of course, we've seen TJ Finley, fantastic game against South Carolina, followed up by a horrendous game at Auburn. A little bit of Max Johnson taking over for him in that one. And, of course, we went into the open date hoping that Miles Brennan would get healthy, and then they'd have him and TJ to choose from. So that's not how it's going to play out, but hopefully all these games get played out. And hopefully listening to Scott Woodward earlier today, he needs the money. The SEC needs the money. They're hemorrhaging funds. The last thing he wants to do is return the money for Alabama game football tickets when they're over $80 million, having an $80 million shortfall on the athletic budget. So they want every nickel they can get. Also today, SEC released their all-SEC basketball team. Watford and Smart. Watford first team, Smart second team. LSU picked third in the SEC in basketball. Is that what you guys think? Leave me a comment. Please do me a favor, hit the like button and share this on your Facebook timeline. Of course, we're also streaming on YouTube as well now. So give us your comments and thoughts on that. And of course, we're going to talk a lot of recruiting tonight. It's without football, recruiting is in high gear. I want to talk to. I kind of want to expand on the war room that we did, that I put out at the end of last week, which is still very much current, and to how LSU is going to fill the rest of this recruiting class now that they've got 22 commitments for the class of 2021, a class that is securely in the top 5, number 3 or number 4 in the nation, depending on which service you want to look at for team recruiting rankings. The class of 2022, of course, is still it was number 1 for a good while. Ohio State has jumped LSU to number 1. But I think with what LSU's got coming for 2022, I think that's going to be another top flight recruiting class. Alex Wrobleski, are fans allowed in the PMAC for basketball games? I thought that there was going to be a number release on that. There's going to be fans there, but I'm not sure what the number is going to be. I ought to know that, but I don't. I've been so football centric here for the last few months, other than seeing the schedule. And of course, LSU's starting the season in Lincoln, the 25th through the 28th for a tournament. I mean, we're just a few weeks away from basketball season, so I know a lot of you guys are looking forward to that, something to divert your attention away from this football season. If you guys know, some of you guys who are basketball ticket holders and you know the answer to Alex's question, please put it in there and let us know about what the attendance is going to be, or fans are going to be allowed. Mike, do you think LSU will sign Brian Thomas? That's, of course, Brian Thomas, the Walker, wide receiver, class of 2021, high 4-star, seen him multiple times in the last few months, done several interviews with him on TigerBait.com. And I think LSU, look, 2 weeks ago when Jack Bech committed to LSU, a big thought was that, they must think that he's going to end up at Texas A&M or Alabama. No, Jack Bech didn't have any bearing on Brian Thomas, and that wasn't why they offered Jack Bech. They offered Jack Bech just because he's a hell of a football player. I think they're still confident in getting Brian Thomas, but then it's a numbers game. When you start going 22 through 25 and you're trying to fill in the numbers and you're saying how are they going to get them all in, and that's why I think in the coming weeks you're about to see a lot of movement on this LSU recruiting class. I think there's probably some guys that are on the commitment list that won't actually be there on signing day. And then that's how you fill in the gaps with whether it's Mason Smith, Brian Thomas, Tristan Lee, the offensive lineman, Savion Byrd from Duncanville, Texas, the offensive guard. The rest of the way, the focus has got to be linemen on the offensive and defensive lines. Corey Foreman, of course, the number one defensive lineman in the country. LSU, Georgia battle there. Arizona State, I'm told, is creeping in there. So it's going to be very interesting. But of course, every week this show is brought to you by Pride Roofing. We're very proud to have them as the official sponsor of TigerBait.com, the official roofing company of TigerBait.com. Mike Faraday, Alex Martinez, super guys. And give them a call, will you? 225-275-2041. Number one roofing company, St. Tammany, Tangipahoa, boots on the ground from Lake Charles to Biloxi, offering commercial and residential services, licensed and insured, free inspections, worked with everybody's insurance company on a first name basis with all the adjusters, have the best warranty on their labor of any roofing company in Louisiana, 5 years plus. And they use the Xactimate software to get an exact, to be able to give you that quick, free, treatment and giving you that, letting you know what it's going to cost you. That estimate's coming for free. So they have a distribution center with plenty of stock of shingles at their main location in Albany, Louisiana. Of course, Mike Faraday, I grew up with him. I vouch for him. He's a good friend of mine. Grew up in Sherwood Forest together. He's a graduate of Broadmoor High School. He's an LSU grad. Super duper people. And please tell them that you saw and heard about them on TigerBait.com. They sponsor this show every week, and we are super glad to have them. And one thing I always say, I'm glad to have two sponsors with TigerBait that I actually know the owners, and I would absolutely use myself, and I consider them all to be lifetime friends. So give Pride Roofing a call and tell them you heard about them on TigerBait.com. Please, as well, hit the like button on this video, share it on your Facebook timeline. We appreciate y'all. If you enjoy what we do each week, very much want to have you guys, share it and help us get the word out. Let's see. Dorian Starkey, when we expect another 2022 commitment? That's a good question. When you look at what's left on the 2021 board, I think I was on Sanji either the other day or last week, and he asked the same question. And I'm like, is it likely that it would be a 2022 prospect that would be the next commitment over a 2021, just because so many guys are going to wait until December to announce their decision. So going to be very interesting. Oh, here we go. Glenn Thomasy, Mike, our opponent threw a touchdown in practice today. I was wanting to give Preston a little grief last night. He was really laying it on thick about Von Rosenberg being the backup quarterback. And, I'm like, man, if Zach look, you do what you got to do. But if Zach Von Rosenberg is pressed in the action and he has to play, whatever you thought the line of that game was going to be, you can go ahead in the negative. You can go ahead and probably double it. No offense to Zach. I think he's a fantastic punter. But a guy who's, that's not a job that you just learn on the fly and know the offense. And I'd like to know the play selection that they would have had for him had he if he had to be pressed into service this early. Brett Hunter saying, hey, from Jacksonville, Florida, love the show. Glad to have you, Brett. Please spread the word. Share it on your Facebook timeline. Hit the like button. And as always, guys, please do me a favor. Look, we've had an excellent season for new subscribers on tigerbait.com. Go premium. We want to have you as a premium subscriber. $1 gets you on the site to try us out for 7 days. And I think if you spend the $1, you'll stick around. Also, too, a lot of you out there looking for Christmas gifts. If you go to tigerbait.com and go to the menu at the top under More, hit Gift Cards, there's virtual gift cards for you to give an annual subscription to tigerbait.com for Christmas. That was a big seller last holiday season, and all the LSU fans that got that were ecstatic because it's something that they use year-round, all day long. They get our newsletters. They get our text alerts on breaking news, which is a big deal, which we didn't have on our own platform. Anytime there's a commitment or a decommitment or something that's happened that's major, we send you a text alert immediately so you get it before anybody else. And, of course, all our premium content year-round, basketball, football recruiting, baseball. And we've got it all for you at tigerbait.com, and want to have you as a subscriber. And think about those gift cards as a great Christmas gift. Let's see. Chance Babin is extending the dead period. Help or hurt us this year? I think LSU might be one of the schools that it benefits. But I do think that sooner or later you've got to get out and evaluate talent. This staff, let's just assume, and I'm hoping it's the case, that the NCAA opens recruiting up so coaches can go on the road, host junior days, in which they usually start doing in February and March, spring football, having recruits on campus for spring practices and your spring game. And of course, when high schools have their football practices in May, the spring evaluation period, hopefully coaches can go out then and do their evaluations, because there's they can get all the huddle film. They can, I know right now I'm told they're getting film every way they can get it. They're watching guys like me, what we post. They're asking TV stations in every market, can they get film from them? They're watching all the VSN games, like a lot of people are subscribing to VSN here in Louisiana. Every way they can to get film on prospects, they're doing it. But at the same time, there's no replacing getting out and giving a kid the eyeball test yourself, or having them stand in front of you, them looking in the eye when they're talking to you, the whole works. All that stuff is vital in recruiting, and hopefully, look, we just got word this week that Pfizer's, we're about to have the COVID shots, and hopefully that all comes to fruition. It works, and we can get this thing rolling and get everything open back up, and everything gets to normal for 2021. We don't want this 2020 to bleed into 2021 at all if we can avoid it. Dale Broussard, basketball roster looks as good as we have had recently, no doubt. Like I said earlier, LSU picked third in the SEC in basketball, behind Tennessee and Kentucky. And what do you guys think? That looks about right to you? I think it does to me. A lot of returning big-time players for Will Wade. Of course, they get started in a couple of weeks in Lincoln, Nebraska, and absolutely excited to see them. Faye, with students staying home after Thanksgiving, how does that affect practice, recruiting, etc.? I don't think it affects LSU any more than it does anybody else. I think probably if you're talking from a COVID standpoint, that was one thing that Scott Woodward said today, was that it's not that it's the cases that they've got a bunch of guys that actually have COVID. It's the contact tracing, and they're using CDC guidelines in the SEC for that. And, why are they doing that? Well, I'll tell you why they're doing it. They're doing it for liability reasons. That insulates them. And they're saying, what do you mean that we were following CDC guidelines if it doesn't go in their favor? And as a state institution, it makes all the sense in the world. You can debate the efficacy or the efficiency of the CDC and the bureaucracy and all that with COVID. But I think that's why they're doing it. It kind of gives them they can say, look, we're following what the government says. So, Dale Broussard, Arch Manning looks like he could play in the SEC right now. Look, man, I know, Arch Manning has a leg up on a lot of very good quarterbacks because of his last name. I've seen them all. Before we went live tonight, I posted on Tiger Bait, and go check it out. It's free. Go look at Ricky Collins' video, Woodlawn quarterback here in Baton Rouge. I think he's one to watch. I think he's on the verge of getting a pile of scholarship offers right here in Baton Rouge. He's coached by Marcus Randall. I think he's a fantastic athlete. He's the best player in every sport at Woodlawn High School, and he's only a sophomore. And he was that guy as a true freshman last year, I'm told, by all the coaches at Woodlawn High School. So he's one to watch. You got the Holstein kid at Eli Holstein at Zachary. Of course, has an LSU offer, and others. But I still say the best quarterback playing high school football right now in the state of Louisiana is Walker Howard. And but look, there's a lot of time to be played. There's guys that make maturity from 11th to 12th grade more than they did from 9th to 10th. But you guys know I'm extremely high on Walker Howard and his velocity. And, of course, he's got Jack Besh, Arsenault, and all those other guys on that STM roster. Talk about a football schedule this weekend. There's not many silver linings with the COVID lockdown, but Acadiana coming to play Catholic High Saturday at Memorial, and Karen Crow STM tomorrow night. What a game that's going to be. Let me know if I'm pretty sure that's on TV on regular Cox 4 or one of them. Y'all let me know if that Karen Crow, boy, talk about a team that they've got there. And that's the game that STM, certainly they wanted Catholic High. But as far as the game that they were saying, boy, the one that was going to be tough was Tony Corville's Karen Crow Bears. What a game I think that's going to be tomorrow night in the Lafayette area. Dorian Starkey, here we go. I think Walker Howard looks every bit as good as Manning. I agree. In fact, I'll put Walker over Arch right now. But like I said, what kind of, how big does Arch end up getting? How much bigger and stronger does he end up getting? Does he make a huge jump between this season and next season that puts him in a whole other stratosphere? But if you're asking me today, I'm taking Walker Howard. Let's see what else we got here. Alex Wrobleski, what SEC teams are playing this weekend? A lot postponed. Man, what is left? You got me on that one. When LSU got postponed on earlier in the week, man, I've just been diving into football recruiting. Let's see, we got postponed Georgia, Missouri, of course, along with LSU and Alabama. You got Vanderbilt, Kentucky. Who wants to watch that? Tennessee, Texas A&M postponed. Auburn, Mississippi State postponed. So you got Arkansas, Florida, South Carolina, Ole Miss, and Vanderbilt, Kentucky. So of those games, there's some interesting ones there, man. I mean, Arkansas is playing well, man. They could really, Florida coming off that win over Georgia, boy, that could be a danger. Of course, Florida's got them in the swamp, but still, yeah. That's your games right there. That one's kind of got me interesting. Ole Miss, South Carolina. I'm going to be paying attention to that one as well in the evening. So let's see. Chance Babham, with such low scholarships, Coach O has to work on his retention hard. That is a great comment, Chance. We did and talked to Brian about it Saturday and Sunday. We put out a great piece, which you can still find on the front page of Tiger Bait, where we went in-depth by position, what LSU should have returning, who's likely to go pro, and almost like a top players, almost like a top 10, but you go by position of the most important guys that Ed Orgeron and his staff need to recruit inside the program to come back, take that free year. And, of course, it all starts with Lyman. What would it mean if you can get Austin Deculus, Shanahan, and those guys on the offensive line to come back? I don't think Ed Ingram with what he had to deal with. I keep saying it, missing a year because of that bogus legal stuff in Texas that he had to contend with. It was just a terrible thing for him. I think he's ready to start making money. I could be wrong, but boy, you want to talk about a recruiting job? You get at it, you're going to come back. And then on the defensive line, Logan, Farrell, and then you get Jacoby and Guillory, Jaquel and Roy back in more mature and bigger and stronger. Ojulari bigger and stronger. You get Mason Smith in the program. What if you get Corey Foreman into the program? Ojulari bigger, stronger. Landon Jackson healthy and signed. And the guy that you all know I'm really, really high on, Savion Jones, the defensive end from St. James. I've been saying it for several months, and then Coach Orgeron said it a couple of Mondays back about how important it is to recruit the current roster, and he's absolutely right. Mike Smith, what about Jai Eugene's son? I have not seen him play. I've seen some clips. I'm not hearing anything as far as LSU watching him, but look, there is I'm sure they're watching and paying attention. Yes, but this state is just going to continue to be crazy at the quarterback spot. You've got some 2024 quarterbacks that you're going to start hearing about. All these kids that are running these offenses in middle school are coming up and are ready to play sooner than we've ever seen before. There's Esteban. There he is. Go Tigers. He's one of our usual guys and a Tiger Bait subscriber. He jumped on board with us last year, and we've been glad to have him as a premium subscriber of Tiger Bait, Esteban. I tell you what, guys, any other I tell you what I want to do. I want to go through, again, we're at the thanks to Pride Roofing for sponsoring us tonight and every week, the official roofing company of TigerBait.com. I just want to talk about, after getting Derek Davis to safety last week, of course, now you got 4 safeties on the roster. Some talk maybe Kari G could end up being a linebacker. If he gets a little bit bigger, he's kind of, is he going to be in that Jacoby Stevens realm size-wise? But he's a safety for now. Let's see what we got here. It starts to, if you go down the line, I could easily put 27 or 28 in this class, which you can't do. They're only going to be able to sign 25. So I think there's several guys that, like I said, that depending on what an academic situation is, this or that, there could be some movement here in the next month. I believe that. So be on the lookout for that. So, beyond the Corey Foreman, the Mason Smith, Tristan Lay, Savion Byrd, Brian Thomas, then you start getting into, is there a second running back in this class? We know about Le'Veon Moss and Trevor Etienne in Louisiana for next year at Estruma and Jennings high schools. But they're also trying to flip Armani Goodwin, the Auburn running back commitment. That can be easier said than done. Taking a strong look at Logan Diggs at Rummel. I know they're really watching him hard, and could he be somebody they try to get in on late? Of course, he's committed to Notre Dame. Still recruiting another defensive end, Shamar Turner from DeSoto, Texas. LSU has had good success at DeSoto, Texas. And that's just some of the guys there. So LSU is going to need to make some room in the class of 2021, I think, to fit everybody in. And, look, if there's some things that are going to happen, you want it to happen sooner than later. You don't want to get too late in the process like they did last year with Major Burns. I don't think that was something that they want to have repeat again. Of course, after that happened with Major Burns, a few months later with the opt-outs and Kerry Vincent opting out, boy, certainly they would have loved to have had Major Burns right now, wouldn't they? So, I tell you what, let me see if I got any more of your questions. L.J. Johnson, Chance Babin. I tell you, I have not heard anything on L.J. Johnson and LSU for several months. He was a guy that we were talking about in the spring and early summer. I think LSU kind of saw what they saw, and really hasn't been any play there with him. Let's see here. Faye, any chance we see Corey Raymond as co-defensive coordinator? I don't think so. I think LSU's issues right now is they've just got to get through this season. They've got to get better defensive front seven players in another year in this new defense. They need to have a full spring football under their belt, and maybe go into 2021 a lot hungrier and a lot less fat and happy, and saying that this what we've seen in 2020 is not LSU football, and get some leadership as far as players. And there's a whole lot of things that I think that they need to get right in the offseason, but let's get through this one first. But I think largely what ails LSU right now is defensive front seven, offensive and defensive linemen. Jabril Cox obviously is making a bunch of tackles. Need better linebacker play, but under Bo Pelini's defense, you need a lot better play from your defensive line, and they have not been getting that whatsoever. And if you're not getting rush off the edge, that makes your defensive backs struggle as well. That's one of the things that we've seen at LSU is for the years with DBU is, you can have great defensive backs, but if you're getting a lot of great rush off the edge and you have very potent defensive ends that are of the all SEC first or second team variety, that's like having an extra defensive back on the field. And LSU hasn't been getting that. We've seen a little bit of Ali Gay getting that on one side. Ojulari's a little light, but has a lot of promise. I think once he gets bigger and stronger, we'll see next year. Trenton Eubanks. This is definitely a young team, but it'll be interesting to see what this young defense looks like next year after having a normal offseason to prepare and adding some new dudes to the roster. No doubt. Confident in the future. I'm with you, Trenton. Good comment. And that's what I'm talking about. It's a perfect storm. You can. I was joking with someone the other day. It's like there's a whole lot of thinking back to DiNardo and when things started sliding with him and made some bad coaching hires, some guys that, once DiNardo got fired, they were all selling insurance and being athletic directors at, Division III colleges, and guys that had no business being on an LSU football staff. They were out of the business altogether. But I can remember the comments. He's paying more attention to his restaurant than he is his football team. Of course, that was when Rufino's was DiNardo's. And so you're getting a lot of that. Orgeron, he's paying too much attention to selling books and, selling chicken and on and picking and getting after Bo Pelini. Certainly, look, coaches aren't totally immune from what's happening, but the biggest issue at LSU has been the draft, what it did to the roster, COVID opt-outs, the hangover from a national championship. It's just an absolute perfect storm. And I sound like I'm the biggest apologist for Ed Orgeron, but I do believe that. You've at the end of the season, there's none of you in this chat that really know football and know personnel and have watched LSU for any length of time that would get up on this table and be just ferocious and arguing that many of LSU's defensive linemen or linebackers belonged on an all SEC first or second team. It's just not there. And that's why you're seeing what you're seeing. Then you get Miles Brennan hurt. You have to play a true freshman. He plays one great game, struggles in a second game on the road at Auburn, which is expected. He's a true freshman. So it's just been a run of, I think, bad luck, circumstances, perfect storm. And but the rest of the way is where are we going to see the wins? Where are they going to come from? LSU Compliance needs to take notes from Bama, Dale Broussard says. You guys know I'm pretty blunt about the wacky tobacco and guys that miss games. And, they miss games at LSU, but they don't miss games in any other SEC schools, do they? Not to say that they should turn an eye and there should be no repercussions for a guy that tests positive for weed, but they test positive for weed at Alabama, but you don't hear about it until the NFL draft when their career's up at Alabama, right? Let's see. Esteban, I understand the living on cloud nine. Enjoy the ride for Coach O, but hopefully after this season, it helps bring the whole team and Coach O back down to earth. Yeah, I think you couldn't draw up a better way to come back down to earth than this. Horrible football season, which comes nowhere near close to meeting expectations. And, it's unacceptable. And look, I think this team's probably 2 years away from being what everybody wants. You're going to have a bunch of young faces. You're going to need some guys to step up next year. That said, you do get Auburn, Florida, and A&M at home on the schedule next year. Saying we're through COVID and, vaccines are working and most people are getting them and believe in them. So we'll see how it plays out. As next year with what would be returning, thinking ahead is 9-3. I think 9-3 would be very much reasonable, and 10-2 would be exceptional. And then you would go to the 2022 season with a lot more upperclassmen and much higher expectations. But after this season, you don't come back next year and go 7-5. That will not be acceptable. All right, guys, I tell you, I'm gonna end things tonight. I haven't actually had dinner yet, and thank you all for participating. Please share, like, subscribe to tigerbait.com. We want to have you, and we'll do it again next week. And subscribe to our YouTube channel as well. We're putting up a lot of video there each week, all the player interviews, Ed Orgeron. And I've got a backlog of our Vault series. I've got like 6 of them ready to roll out here in the next week. I thought we'd be fully loaded with Alabama, LSU content this week, and kind of got the rug pulled out from underneath us. And I'm heading to a high school stadium tomorrow night, and so we're going to have a lot of recruiting stuff on the way at Tiger Bait. So we'll see you on tigerbait.com back here next week. Preston, of course, does his show, and we'll be back with our post-game show as well once we get through this COVID contact tracing missed week of football. I'm ready for some football. This isn't cool right now. So we'll see you then next week, and thank you all again. Good night.